Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Well, that was fast. The Ravens pivoted to Bengals star Trey Hendrickson after backing out of their deal for Maxx Crosby. Also, two NBA teams desperate to get back on track and prove they are contenders clashed on Wednesday night. And the Colts are paying Daniel Jones how much? I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Ravens backed out of paying up for one star pass rusher and pivoted to paying another. Locked On Ravens host Kevin Ostreicher reacted to Baltimore signing Trey Hendrickson away from the Bengals just hours after backing out of the Maxx Crosby trade.
Hendrickson right now, look, just who he is a big guy. He's 6'4", 265. You can play him both inside and outside, although he's a pass rusher. That's what he is. And he's someone that, look, is not as well-rounded as Maxx Crosby. He's not nearly as good against the run, but his pass rush stuff is elite. He has speed to power. He has finesse moves. He has a pass rushing plan. He is one of the best. I don't think he's as good as Maxx Crosby, but I do believe that this is something where even with his injury situation, and I saw something, let me try to get that up real quick. And again, this is the beauty of lives, is we just get to kind of go through this together and everything. I can't find it right now, but essentially what you're doing is you have your 2 first-round picks, you have Trey Hendrickson, and that's your deal, right? It's either Crosby and no first-round picks over the next 2 years, or Hendrickson and 2 first-round picks. And again, the money with Crosby and him in general is interesting because Crosby was supposed to get $112 million, actually $112.93 million in base value for the next 4 years is coming from Field Yates. They now signed Hendrickson for that $112 million over the next 4 years. So look, the Ravens are not the league's favorite team right now. They're not the NFL world's favorite team right now. They are the most hated team in the league right now. And we still don't know a ton about the Crosby situation. We know more, which we'll get to a little bit more in the second part of the show. I really want to focus on Hendrickson in this part, but I will say this initially to kick it off. The Ravens aren't trying to win popularity contests. They're trying to win Super Bowls. Now, if there's something fishy going on, that's something else we'll have to address later, but we don't know, right? There's all this information that's coming out that's saying, oh, the Ravens try to do this and try to do that, and they try to make it work, and they wanted Crosby in Baltimore, and this is who they talked to, and all these surgeons, and these are the guys that review the medicals. Like, we're now starting to get information that's like, look, they tried this. Like, they tried to make it work. That's what I'm getting. That's the sense I'm getting. But Trey is a really good player, and I don't want the Crosby situation to cloud how big of a move this is for the Ravens. This was their best pivot option. No, it's not the most, PR friendly, I guess is the way I'll put it, with how the Crosby situation went down. But it was their best option, and they'd be foolish to, try to pivot to a worse option in the sake of looking better. Like, it's going to look how it's going to look. People are going to say what they're going to say about it. And, the Ravens, I still don't believe have released a statement on the situation, which is that part to me is not great. They should have said something. But, at the end of the day, yeah, and for Hendrickson, it is a core injury. I see that from G. David there. And I believe that his timeline was anywhere, 4 to 6 weeks, 6 weeks. So he should, look, the physical is a very touchy subject in Baltimore right now, right? But he should be able to pass the physical in Baltimore. That's going to be everybody, right? Because this move is pending a physical, right? Pending a physical. That's the big thing. But he is older than Maxx Crosby. We're giving him a 4-year contract. He's 31 and a half. He'll be 32 by the time the season is over. So you're essentially paying Hendrickson, depending on how this is structured. We don't know if there are void years involved, what the cap hit for year one is, how many years of a contract this actually is, when they're out is. So, of course, as that information comes out, we'll figure that all out. But at this point, that's what it is with Hendrickson. But you're stealing him from a division rival. that relationship with Cincinnati got very weird over the last handful of years and months as they gave Hendrickson the franchise tag and they wouldn't give him the long-term contract. That's what Hendrickson wanted. This is what Hendrickson has wanted, a long-term deal with good money. And apparently what the reports are about Hendrickson is that the market for him was sitting between 25 and 27 million per year these last couple of days, which is why he lingered on the market. And apparently the Ravens go to 28 and get that immediate aftermath from Maxx Crosby, or in the immediate aftermath, that coming from Albert Breer. And again, there's a lot of stuff going around about the Ravens right now. And what I said in the morning show is like, every party's going to try to make themselves look good in this situation. So, if that report about, the Ravens they want Crosby and Hendrickson, that wouldn't, I don't think that would have been possible. Maybe with cap hits and whatnot, it could have been, is that the Ravens trying to spin something to Adam Schefter if that was him? And again, I haven't seen that, but I'm just saying in that possibility, is that what's happening for the Raiders? They got out ahead of it and said, hey, this is what happened. They want to put their spin on it. So it's everything going on. But again, the Ravens would have been foolish not to go after Hendrickson, who was clearly the best option left on the market, who was still a very, very good player. And now you have pick 14. You have Trey Hendrickson. We'll see what the cap number is. There are reports coming out that the Ravens renegotiated Lamar's deal, which could mean restructure, could mean extension. I don't know what that word means in this sense. So we'll see what money they could free up.
Stay up to date all year on the Baltimore Ravens by subscribing to Locked On Ravens on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Your Locked On Sports today. Coming up, the Nuggets and the Rockets faced off with two teams desperately trying to show they are championship contenders. Before we get to that, Kevin Byard has a reunion with Mike Vrabel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings, and there's early tip-offs, and there's late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits what's going on that night, whatever fits your mood in the moment. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then apply the profit boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Free agent safety Kevin Byard, the NFL's interception leader in 2025, has signed with the New England Patriots.
The Patriots have signed safety Kevin Byard to a 1-year, $9 million deal. Now, I know people will look at his age. Kevin Byard turns 33 in August, and they will say, what are they doing signing a guy who's creeping towards his mid-30s? My response to that would be, yeah, he's going to be 33 in August, but he was a first-team All-Pro this past season with the Chicago Bears.
The Clippers, who have crawled back to 500, hosted the Timberwolves.
The Minnesota Timberwolves blown out again in Los Angeles, this time at the hands of the LA Clippers for the Wolves' third straight loss. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast. And this swoon for the Timberwolves continues. Last night against the Lakers, the offense was horrific. Tonight, the defense. They gave up 153 points, a season worst mark. LA scored at least 35 points in every quarter. The Timberwolves early in the game, the offense was bad. The Wolves turned the ball over on something like 6 of their first 8 or 9 possessions, which led to a lot of easy fast break points, free throw opportunities for the Clippers. LA had 10 more free throw attempts than the Wolves at halftime. Still, the Wolves got down to within 9 points in the third quarter after trailing by as many as 19, but then the Timberwolves offense struggled. They made 1 3-pointer in the third quarter, 1 3-pointer, actually 0 3-pointers before garbage time in the fourth quarter, and the Clippers pulled away midway through the fourth. This was just a bad defensive performance and a mediocre offensive performance as the Wolves continue to struggle to find their way.
And in college hoops, Arizona State is moving on from Bobby Hurley after 11 seasons. Athletic Director Graham Rossini announced Wednesday that Hurley's contract will not be renewed following the Sun Devils' 91-42 blowout loss to number 7 Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament, the most lopsided game in conference history. Hurley finished 185-167 at ASU with 3 NCAA tournament appearances, but struggled to maintain consistent success, especially in recent seasons. The Sun Devils went 17-16 this season and finished 12th in the Big 12. He'll have to watch from the sidelines as his brother Dan seeks his third NCAA tournament title in 4 years with the UConn Huskies. I guess not much of a sibling rivalry when that's where they stand. The Rockets and Nuggets have been playing some basketball lately, and both teams are desperate to build some momentum with the playoffs now just a month away. Locked on Rockets host Jackson Gatlin reacted to Houston's road trip to Denver in what felt like a crucial get-right game on each side.
The third quarter tonight was absolutely atrocious. I've got the box score here just from the third. Rockets get outscored 40-22 in that third quarter. They go 0 of 8 from the three-point line. They didn't shoot the ball horribly in that quarter. They're 44%. Denver shoots 52%. Denver 83% from the three-point line in that quarter. The Rockets turn it over 4 times in that quarter and just get absolutely trounced in that period. I mean, it was a competitive game in the first half. I mean, you go to half, they hit the 3 there right before the buzzer to extend the lead to 6. But, I mean, it was looking like it was going to be a 3-point game, 53-47 at the half. The Rockets did all that without shooting the 3 at all in the first half. And that's what turned out to be all of the issues in this basketball game is that the Nuggets – now, look, there is a human element to any evaluation of a sports game when it happens, right? You and I can be humans when we look at it and realize the Rockets are on the back end of a back-to-back where they played in Houston last night, had to play it, all the way through to get that victory, and have to get on a plane, go to Denver, get in it probably between 2, 3, 4, probably somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning. If you've ever been to Denver, the Denver airport is nowhere near downtown Denver. So it's a 45-minute drive at least. You're probably not laying your head down to 6 something in the morning? This is my guess. Maybe it's a little bit earlier than that. And you're trying to sleep on a non-normal sleep schedule, get up and then go play a basketball game in a city that's mile high. It's not easy. But when you are paid millions of dollars, of course, the expectation always is that you go out there and you give it your best. And they had the effort in the first half. But this is the problem, that this has now happened the second time in the last 3 games. Like I mentioned, you did this against San Antonio where you got absolutely just smacked around. And then tonight, Denver just boat races you in the second half. You didn't shoot the 3 at all tonight. The Rockets as a team in the from the 3-point line in the game tonight shoot 4 of 33, 12% from 3. That's a huge problem. Denver, you just got outnumbered at that point. Denver 17 of 32, 53%. They have that issue. The turnover issue, of course, massive issue for this basketball team almost every single night. 15 of them tonight, and it really sparked a lot of the easy buckets and the quick runs that Denver went on throughout the basketball game. And then there's the fact that, like I mentioned, running. What I'm concerned with this basketball team is that you've seen 2 teams, 2 monsters in the Western Conference now, in San Antonio and Denver, really target some very similar issues that the Rockets have and then just basically go after them all game. You saw Toronto. Now Toronto runs a lot. We saw it last night, but Toronto keyed in on it as well. The Rockets don't move well in transition. They don't. They don't get back half the time. They're not good at pushing the pace. And it's a really frustrating aspect of this team. And then you mix it all in, all these issues that I'm mentioning, whether it's, that or the back-to-back. This is a massive game. There's 18 games left in the season coming into this one. This is a Western Conference. We talked about this last night that is so stacked up. And if the Rockets slip up for 3-4 games, they're out of the top 6 easily. They're 2 games better than the 7 seed right now in the Western Conference, that being the Phoenix Suns. So if you have a bad week, you could be on the outside looking in and saying, I have to play in the play-in, which is still, for the life of me, the dumbest thing the NBA has ever come up with. And maybe the idea is not dumb, but doing it with 10 teams is just stupid. They should have just stuck with the 8 and done a play-in with, the bottom 4, whatever. Different thing for a different time. But tonight's game was a game of consequence. This is a chance to help yourself. Rockets go to the 4 seed now. At this moment, it's going to change every night. At this moment, they're now matched up to play the Minnesota Timberwolves. They would have the home court advantage in that one. Lakers go up to the 3 seed. Nuggets stay at the 6 at the moment. All those teams, though, have 40 wins. Denver is one worse in the loss column than the Rockets are at this point. Rockets now 40-25 on the season. But this is a chance with this schedule. Denver, by the way, wins the season series over the Rockets with that victory tonight, 3-1. That's also the non-encouraging part of this. We talked about it last night, or I mentioned it. You want absolutely no part of playing the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. The Rockets, here's the unfortunate, and we can live in reality. The Rockets are not as good as the Denver Nuggets.
Stay up to date all year on the Houston Rockets by subscribing to Locked On Rockets on your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Colts are paying up for Daniel Jones, but is it really a bad thing? The Colts are dropping a bag to keep Daniel Jones around for another 2 years. While the national narrative may be that Indy overspent on Jones, Locked On Colts host Zach Hicks and Destin Adams are actually completely fine with the 2-year, $100 million contract to keep their QB around.
We talked Daniel Jones earlier. Me and Jake did on like a mini episode just to kind of get our quick initial thoughts out. But now we kind of have, I don't want to call them the official contract numbers. I do trust over the cap, but again, I want to wait until it's like officially out there. But according to over the cap, the Colts cap hit this year from Daniel Jones's contract is only $14.68 million. Next season, it's a $46.8 million cap hit. The Colts added 3 void seasons to the end of the deal to spread out that signing bonus. So the Colts opened up about $23 million in cap space this offseason by giving Jones this 2-year extension. So 2 years for $88 million, but because of the way they structured it with the void years and with spreading out the signing bonus, they only have a $14.68 million cap hit this season, according to over the cap.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this was always the thing that mattered. 2 years up to $100 million, like that's like what everyone's going to run with, and the rest of the offseason, that's all that's going to be talked about is the Colts pay Daniel Jones $100 million. To me, and maybe those listening are not in the same boat, I don't care what the owner pays out. I just do not care what is coming out of their pockets to Daniel Jones. Congrats to Daniel Jones. Really happy for what he was able to get. But the cap hit here is what mattered. Like, to me, what the cap hit is this year, what the Colts are on the hook for in the future if this doesn't work out, like that's what mattered. So this coming in under $15 million, if that is what it ends up being, like over the cap is saying, that's a win. This being a 2-year deal in the end instead of a 4-year deal where there was going to be void years on that as well to try to lower stuff, like that's a win. Like those two things are the most important aspects of the Daniel Jones deal, in my opinion. Would I have liked it to be a little bit lower to where you're not looking at a $46 million cap hit next year? Sure. But I do think the important thing to note is 2026 is going to tell us a lot of things. If it works out, then obviously you're already going to start moving the ball towards getting a new contract done anyway. You're not going to bring a guy who has a really good 2026 season into 2027 with a 1-year deal and just roll the dice again. You're going to try to get a longer deal done. And if 2026 doesn't go well, coming off the torn right Achilles, then the new head coach and GM that comes in 2027 are going to blow up this roster anyway, and Daniel Jones would not be a part of the future. So they're putting everything on 2026, which was by far the smartest thing they could do.
This is what happens when you move on from Peyton Manning. You luck right into Andrew Luck, no pun intended. And then you wander the QB wilderness and you have to deal with late career Matt Ryan and late stage Phil Rivers and post peak Carson Wentz. And now you're stuck with Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles. So you're going to pay him $50 million a year. This is insanity. I understand he played really well last year, but wasn't that more a function of the team around him? Wasn't that really about how good Shane Steichen is and how great the offensive line played and Jonathan Taylor and Alec Pierce becoming a star receiver? That was really about Daniel Jones pushing all the right buttons. We've seen this over and over and over. When you pay this much for this level of quarterback, it dooms you as an organization. This is not it. And we've seen this play out before with Daniel Jones, another team who had their most success in recent memory with Daniel Jones decided to give him $100 million. History is repeating itself. And finally, the Big Ten is essentially asking the NCAA to stop pretending tampering rules still work. In a letter obtained by reporters, the conference requested a pause on tampering investigations, arguing the current rules were built for a completely different era before name, image, and likeness money and a transfer portal that moves at warp speed. The league pointed to examples of players committing to new schools within hours of entering the portal as evidence the system simply doesn't match reality. In other words, everyone knows tampering is happening. The rules just haven't caught up to it yet. The Big Ten says it wants to help build a modern framework for regulating contact between schools and players. Until then, enforcing the current rules might be the biggest fiction left in college sports. Coming up, NFL free agency chaos. Is it going to begin to die down? I guess we'll see. College basketball conference tournaments begin to heat up. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.